After the opening round of Le Mans offered up plenty of chances to overtake, the schedule for this season has been twisty and technical tracks one after another. Today offers no relief from the barrage considering the reputation of Imola. Will drivers be pushing that much harder in qualifying because of it? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This Italian circuit has an incredible amount of history and drama behind it. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds one more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apexer not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them? Well, Christian, this has become a bit of a divisive track as it has evolved over the years, but what are we looking at for the 49s today?
Well, 17 turns here, a track that's just over 3 miles, and it's one of those tracks which used to be very, very fast, but has obviously succumbed to the need to have chicanes in it, understandably so, due to the number of pretty high-profile incidents we've seen here. But what it does mean is that passing around here, despite these chicanes, is actually still quite difficult, just because every run is just not quite long enough to kind of make an easy pass. Most passes I think we should expect to see in Tamburello, but it's very easy to make mistakes in Alta and as well down into Rivazza. So there will be some overtaking opportunities, but it's mostly going to come from mistakes.
No doubt, it's easy to make them, especially when you have so many chicanes out here. But for today's race, they're not going to cycle around here too many times. It's only going to be 22 laps. I know that says 41, but it is only 22 that we have here today. And of course, the drivers are going to be facing off with open setups, so drivers will be able to try and tweak to find speed. It is no spare car, though. They do have a lot of paved runoff and a lot of space on the corner exits, but it's still possible to try and muck it up. They've got a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25. Now, what that means is incidents are off tracks, car contact, spins, or contact with the wall. So you rack up enough of those, then you're either going to get a drive-through eventually, you'll be disqualified. That's just to keep them from abusing those off tracks a little bit too much if you're new to iRacing, to try and keep the racing fair and safe. As for the F1 championship, right now, Brandon Hawkins still leading it, despite not being able to get the win last time out over Topi Cortiniemi. And Robert Plumley and John Olsen are tied in second behind him. Now, Olsen, I do believe, has taken podiums this season, but Plumley has not. He's just been darn consistent out there. And Topi Cortiniemi obviously jumps up the order with his victory last time out. From there, look at how tight things are. Trangaré and Laust Olsen, also tied, but with Hisada only a single point behind there. You get back to Sanchez, about 10 points back. Zilko, who has taken a podium this season himself, sits in ninth, and Jorge Nieva coming up from the F2s last season is in the top 10 overall. Christian, what about the F2s?
Well, David Rossi retakes the points lead there. He had a 43-point score at Long Beach, which made up for his 22 at Barber, but it is a 1-point lead over Michael Grissinger. Don Peake is actually up in third spot, but he's quite a ways back. He's 24 points behind. He's got 1-point advantage over Robert Oberta, who's in fourth. Gary Ho is back there, just 4 points further back in fifth. And then we've got Hideki Kavista, Timothy Porter, Marcus Saufer, Tobias Harvey, and Zach Purcell rounding out the top 10.
As for the Cup of Nations, the United States is still up at the top. Finland closing in. Cortiniemi really trying to make this a tighter fight. Canada and Spain also already in it. And this is getting close to the halfway mark of the season after this race. So still not seeing a clear front runner in this, is making it quite a fun one out there, no doubt. And right now in the timing of the qualifying, we're still waiting on the first driver to cross the line. It does take a bit to try and get there, but it's also very hot, so that is slowing them down a little bit, making it quite slippery out here with so many chicanes to deal with. That is going to be quite an interesting endeavor, no doubt. But Cortiniemi and Hawken are the two that we expect to be the major players up at the top. We'll see if that actually is the case, though.
Yeah, Ben Zoko is going to be starting this race from the back of the grid. He's been caught out by the qualifying scrutiny, so he won't be setting a time.
Ooh, that's not something we see all that often. So let's hope that not too many others will fall victim to that. So Hawken holds the provisional pole for now. Topi Cortiniemi just crossed 41.8, is definitely going to be faster by half a second. But Hisada has gotten closer than that. He's within a quarter of a second on Topi Cortiniemi. Hawken pushed to the second row with that, but we still have a number of others to get across. Xavier Sanchez still needs his first lap, so we'll see what he can do out there. Tixier is on the outside of the second row, still looking for that elusive first win.
Yeah, Bill Tyler's up there in fifth right now. He's 1.2 seconds off, but I think he might slip down the order because he's not going to improve. He's abandoned his second lap.
So you can see Hisada coming out of Tosa up the hill towards Piratella right now. And this is a difficult left-hander, this one. Car loves to push to the outside, where you can get slowdown penalties on that one off tracks as well. So you got to be careful about how much you abuse that. Meanwhile, down through Aqua Minerale, very difficult double apexer, and then back up the hill toward Alta. So far, I'm not showing him as improving on his lap. Sometimes the timing can be off on that, but it's not looking good for the four.
Yeah, I mean, he is already in a good spot. Obviously, he's second for now, but we've still got Hawken to come across the line, and he'll be coming over in just a second. I expect he's going to improve.
Let's see, there he goes. 42.1, 2/10 quicker isn't going to do it. He's going to do no better than third. Tixier could overtake him. Hisada coming across. Tixier is going to be in front of him. I'm watching that before we go to Hisada. 42.1. Tixier goes ahead of Hawken. Hisada crosses. His lap is deleted. It doesn't count. 41.7 now for Cortiniemi. He's now 0.3 ahead of Togo Hisada. And how about Ryan Walker up to fifth place with his second lap? He's been knocking on the door of good finishes all season long. We'll see what he can do today.
Yeah, he's been slowly improving over his time in the 49, and he's kind of gone from picking up top 10s to now threatening top 5s. And this is a really good lap, honestly, to be within a second of Topi, who's himself got a 0.3 advantage over Togo.
We've got Xavier Sanchez now, who sits in ninth position. A little far down for him, but it is a big field here today. He's going to cross the line, 42.5, a second improvement, and that's up to fifth place. That seems a little bit more representative of what we typically see from him. Pekka Risto's first lap, good enough for 17th. This is Salgado now, and the number 18 looking to improve on a 44.4. Becomes a 43.7, so second lap definitely seems to be the one for a lot of drivers. That'll jump him up into 12th. I see, looks like a dozen drivers that have not set a time.
Yeah, and a couple of big names actually back there. Obviously, we talked about Ben Zoko. Jorge Neva's another one of them. So it's going to be interesting to see those guys come through from the back of the field. And we talked a little bit about the incident limit being 17. It's possible that you can rack up to that just in normal driving here, especially in a car like the 49. The 49 can get over curbs better, I would say, than most modern cars. And the limits are fairly strict on the chicanes. So you've got a car that promotes you kind of climbing over the curbs and a track that sort of doesn't really want you to do that. So it's very, very easy to run up to that limit. I think it's possible we'll see some drivers get very, very close to it.
We'll keep an eye on it. Farrengrau unfortunately has his second lap deleted. We're running out of time, though. Looking to see if anybody else can complete the lap. And unfortunately, Robert Obrota is going to come within seconds of getting around in time, but he's going to be just shy as that ticks down to 0. At least I think he will. We're down to 4 seconds, and he's approaching the start-finish line. See if he goes. Nope, he just missed it by feet. All right, let's go through our starting grid here today. Topi Kortademi on the pole position, followed by Toga Hisada. Sebastian Tixier will be P3 and Brandon Hawken in 4th. It'll be Xavier Sanchez on the 3rd row with Ryan Walker at his outside. Bill Tyler, excellent qualifying in 7th. You've got Martin Versuluin in 8th, Miro Hraski in 9th, and top 10 is rounded out by Robert Plumley.
Matthew Morsley lines up in 11th alongside Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado in 12th. David Rossi, F2 points leader, line up in 13th. Alfonso Fernandez alongside him in 14th. Laust Olsen is looking a little bit slower than we've seen him in past seasons. He's back here in 15th with Will Lamb alongside him in 16th. Seamus Power and Pekka Risto line up 17th and 18th. And then Farrengrau and Gary Ho finish out the top 20.
Michael Christinger in the F2 field starts from 21st. Jack Ulstead, 22nd. You've got Joan Rodriguez, 23rd. And Donald Peake, great qualifying, up to 24th. Robert Pangrazi will be P25. Then it's Andrew Ang to his outside. Kip Stevens starts from 27th. Robert Obrota, 28th. Last 2 drivers to set times are Connor Babel in 29th and Michael Flaherty in 30th.
Now moving into 3 drivers I expect to see moving forward through the field. Ben Zoko did not set a time. He's starting back here in 31st with Jan Lehman alongside him. Hoye Neva next row back in 33rd with Matthew Johns in 34th. Diego Gomez Terevara in 35th. Mats Linden alongside him in 36th. Dante Gatamp in 37th. Zach Purcell also back here in 38th with Christian Arabas and Koichi Nakajima rounding out the 40th.
Now, if you're wondering how the drivers are separated into F1 and F2, that is according to iRating. They're all driving the same car, but the F1s are above 2,500 iRating. F2 are below 2,500 iRating. I think we just about have everybody out there. And, yep, looks like they are good to go. Engines now start to rev as the lights come up. The green flag is out, coming off the line. Does look like Hisada is a little slow, and Sebastian Tixier is trying to see if he can come up the inside as they fly down into Tamburello. Already we got some wrecking in the back, a car on its lid, and everybody's trying to scramble to get around him. A lot of them trying to slow up to make sure this doesn't become a worse incident, and I think they managed to get away without too many drivers becoming victims.
Yep, that was Pekka Risto, Ferro Grau getting together. Grau ended up upside down, sliding down the track literally on his head.
Up into Tosa now, the hairpin that leads up the hill. Kortademi still ahead of Hisada. Tixier fell back down to 3rd after such a good start. Brandon Hawken hot on his heels, but watch out for Ryan Walker. Look how close he's getting to that yellow number 1 car.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a surprise. We've seen Hawken has really, really mega race starts. I was expecting to see him actually challenge a little bit more, but Togo didn't get the greatest of getaways, was under threat by Tixier.
So back out of Aquamini Raleigh now. They come up into Alta in anger for the first time under racing conditions. This one can often see drivers have to cut that chicane going into deep, but I am not seeing anything quite yet out of drivers trying to be too aggressive here at the start. In fact, very few drivers attempting to pass, it seems, into that one. Oh, we did have an accident. Looks like Zach Purcell, unfortunately taken out by Gaetano in the 34. I think both are able to carry on after a little bit of contact, but we look a little farther back here at Marcin there in the 14th position. That is on the car of David Rossi in that F2 field as they fly across the start-finish line to complete lap 1.
Yeah, and the big loser, I would say, on lap 1 was Martin Venezuela, and he's down in 14th after starting in 8th. As we see a huge wreck there. It's Xavier Sanchez, I think.
No, that's Rossi. That's Rossi and Martin, who we were just watching in that fight, and another car escapes off the road. Michael Grissinger, unfortunately, I think just missing his braking point, so completely unrelated incident, and everybody slowly trundles back to the racing circuit.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if Rossi's able to continue. That was a pretty big hit.
And yeah, it just flew too close to the sun, unfortunately. Martin with a very similar paint scheme to Sanchez, and looks like he is going to wind up having to make up a lot of ground because of that. As we come back live, already heading through Acqua Minerale, Topi Cortinemi and Togo Hisada still remaining quite close. It seemed like Topi had pace over everybody in qualifying, but in the race here on lap 2, this is remaining pretty tight.
Yeah, and I was a little bit surprised. I mentioned that Tixier was kind of threatening Togo on that first lap, but then by the time we got really to Acqua Minerale, Togo had really pulled away, and he's holding on to the back of Topi, but Sebastian is under threat from Hawking, and he's dropped out of the draft now. I'm expecting to see a move from Hawking now into turn 1.
Same here, but right now Hawking still has a lot to make up to those top 2 if he has the pace to try and run them down. Here it goes. He's going to have to go the long way around, defense to the inside from Sebastian Tixier. He's good on the brakes, but he'll have to finish the job. Oh, and I think he gets fed out just a little bit. So he backs out of it, tries to cut back though, could get the over-under. Will he be able to try and attack? Is he brave enough to attack into Villeneuve? That is a fast entry to that chicane, and he does it. And will he hold on to it though? Yes, he does. Nicely done by Brandon Hawking.
Yeah, it's a great move. You really don't see moves that often into Villeneuve like that.
Certainly not. So as they come out of Tosa now, he's got about 3 seconds to make up to Togo Hisada. Another look at it. Didn't get it done at the first time of asking, but you got to give him credit for not getting up and getting creative, because I thought the pass attempt was over, and he said, no, it is not.
Yeah, and that's kind of the move started, obviously, down at Tamburello, but it really happened because he was able to put Tixier a little bit offline on the exit and stay close enough for that run into Villeneuve.
You can see still with him, Tixier does not want to give it up quite yet. Wonder if he could maybe ride his coattails, though, if he sticks with it. Ooh, looks like Andrew Ang had an off, I think, through Paratella. I think he'll be able to get it back on course. So we ride on board, coming around from the helmet of Tixier, looking ahead at Hawking. Let's see. Yeah, no, he's way too far behind. Poor exit there from the number 8 coming out of Ravazza. And that's going to put pay to that, at least for this lap. In the meantime, Hisada not giving up on things. He set the fastest lap of the race last time. He's still within 2 to 3 tenths.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've seen Togo win a race, but obviously he is a series champion and won many races in the 49, so we definitely shouldn't count him out. Obviously, Topi has been very, very strong. You see, Togo's always exciting with his driving style, I would say.
Yeah, he's certainly giving our director fits behind the scenes, afraid of an accident just about to happen. Sad news for fans of Don Peak and Farron Grau. The two came together coming into the breaking of Ravazza, and both went off course after the massive contact that those two had. Looks like Jack Olstead also had some problems. Man, we've been having a lot of accidents here at the starts, unfortunately. Certainly the weather not helping all that much. 111 Fahrenheit still. It's come down about 2 degrees. 44 Celsius for the metric folks as well. A little bit of wind, but not as effective on these cars. So it is Japan versus Finland here. And right now, it is Finland who has the advantage, the track advantage, just ahead by less than half a second between them.
Yeah, and I've been keeping an eye on Hawking to see if he can close this gap down. He hasn't really made any inroads so far, but obviously still quite a ways to go. Especially if these two start to battle. If Togo can even get alongside Topi once, it's going to allow Hawkins to really close it up.
Doesn't seem like he's making too much ground right now, but it's still a ways to go. Ryan Walker, in the meantime, seems to have passed Xavier Sanchez. He was behind him earlier. Checking to see how long ago this happened, and unfortunately, yeah, it looks like we missed it some time ago. So Walker now up back into the top 5 once again. Let's see if he can maybe set off to catch up to Tixier as well. Number of drivers who seem to have been plugged up slightly at the start of the race. We come back to Tixier once again. He's in the number 8 car that you can see as they head up towards Puritella. Still within about half a second of Hawken. Hawken kind of minding his own business here, looking for another podium. Right now, his gap over Robert Plumley is probably enough that he feels safe. However, for Topi Kortaniemi, the 20 points or so difference that he has between them means that he can't continue to take 3rd and 2nd places all season long. Topi's going to catch up to him eventually.
Yeah, and I think that Topi kind of has a little bit of a point to prove. I feel like he's on balance been kind of the benchmark driver in the 49 now for at least a season, I would say. He hasn't always done all the races, but when he does turn up, he's pretty much the guy to beat. And obviously the beginning of this season really went against him, but since then he's just really been on a charge. Obviously Long Beach was a pretty dominant performance by him, but today, I don't know, Togo looks like he's willing to challenge him. He's within a 10th right now.
Yeah, and that is going to be a fun battle between the pair of them. What if we could go back to Laust Olsen? Because he has currently got an entire train of cars chasing behind him. Matthew Maudsley, Marco Salgado, and Miro Hraski. This is all fighting for the 9th position a little bit farther down in the field.
He is back up inside the top 10, though. There are a couple of drivers who have gained significant spots since the start of the race. Obviously, Laust is one of them, up from 15th into 9th. A couple of other drivers as well have had some really nice moves. Hoye Niva, 33rd to 19th.
Still watching Tixier here on screen right now. And there is the train of Jorge Nieva instead, actually. And the number 21 car sitting in 18th, Joan Rodriguez and Martin Vilsluin behind him. We hop on board with Jorge, and this is not typical of him. Whoop! And going off. That, unfortunately, was Joan just going a little bit wide through Tosa and has to wait patiently for everybody else to go by before Joan can get back on track. We're going to take one look at the replay. And is this shades of Hamilton when he had his off a couple years ago? It is indeed.
Yeah, it looked like Martin kind of moved to make a move, and it was just enough to put Joan off, and got the right rear on the grass, and that was that.
So back to Jorge Nieva here. I was just about to say, is a little bit out of position compared to what we've seen. Usually top 10, but without his qualifying, he's had to try and climb his way through. He has gained 15 spots already and is definitely our hardest charger. Looking a little farther up, this is the back of that train I was talking about earlier. Miro Hraski just behind Marco Salgado. And then that's Matthew Maudsley just in front of them, being led, of course, by Laust Olsen. As I mentioned, he's a little wide there coming into the Villeneuve chicane, but takes a decent line through there. You can see them using up the available track on the exit with that little bit of AstroTurf as they're trying to widen it as much as they can in these cars.
Yeah, and Laust has got a pretty sizable gap ahead of him, I would say. Obviously, Plumley is about 3.5 seconds ahead of him.
As we expected, it seems like passing's at a bit of a premium. We've seen a couple out there, but seeing these trains form is kind of telling at this stage. They're still on lap 7, so we haven't even hit the halfway point. And heading on up the hill over the crest into the braking for Alta. You can see the little crown in the road as well. That in most cars, probably in modern day, not much of an issue, but in these things, any little rise certainly throws it off.
Yeah, and the same is true for the run down to Tamburello. Obviously, we're kind of used to seeing cars go 2x2 and make a move, but it's not trivial to do that in the 49. You actually do have to set up for the kink to the right. And just quick note at the front, the pace is tremendous. I really thought that Hawking might be able to close it down, but he's not been able to at all. Togo is all over the back of Topi, and they're still pulling away.
Xavier Sanchez almost managed to get by Ryan Walker. He got right up to him, but then braked a little bit earlier. Wasn't quite willing to try and make a go at it. We're going to take a look at the attempt here. Slipstream definitely helps enough in these things that it pulls him up alongside. And yeah, man, the way this track weaves back and forth, that makes it such a sketchy attempt into there.
Yeah, you don't really want to risk going to the outside there. Well, I mean, one, because it's pretty hard to make that move stick, but also you really can't bank on the car on the inside being able to hold that line.
I saw for a moment that Hisada was within 1/10 of a second of Cortiniemi. It's gone back up to 3/10 now. So he's got a little bit to try and get closer once again. They're now lapping cars as well. The high number of attendees here today has meant that even with the number of wrecks that we've had, that they're already running into slower cars. And, ooh, this is looking good. This is looking very good. Oh, but he spun the wheels a little bit off of Hrvatsa.
Yeah, I don't think the move's going to come this lap, but it is a little bit surprising to be into lap traffic only 8 laps into the race. There's a possibility of getting into them twice if that's the case.
Yeah, that's a good point. 11 laps will mark the halfway point. So that time, Togo decided not to try and go for it. He was just about where he could get an overlap if he really wanted to be aggressive. Coming back once again to Walker and Sanchez. Walker keeping him dutifully behind in that number 6 machine, not willing to give up another top 5. So the Scottish driver, as we take a look at a replay here, is having a good race. Doesn't look like he was able to get side by side once again. Now, I have heard we've got a replay of the wreck at the start of the race, and I'm not sure if we've got that spooled up or not. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like we've got that ready, because I could only kind of catch it in the background. I didn't get a good look about what turned a car on its lid.
I'm pretty sure it was Pecaristo and Grau getting together. I'm just not sure which way around it happened. When I caught it, Grau was already upside down and sliding down the track.
And when we come back, I can report that Togo Hisada has just spun. We'll get to that in just a second once we see what happens here with Grau. May have gone a little far back. Let's see. Here we go. So Grau in the number 12 machine. That's what you want to watch there. The gold leaf Lotus livery. And yeah, just tangled wheels, it looks like. And unfortunately, in these open wheelers, especially without any downforce to help hold them down, can often mean disaster.
Yeah, and Pecaristo got very, very lucky with that. He's been able to continue, and he's running in 14th right now.
Just about 4 wheels off the ground for Pecaristo, yeah. Unlucky, though, for Farron Grau. Now, spin for Hisada in the 4 happened on this lap. Not sure if we can pull that up, but it was in Acqua Minerale. And that was all on his own doing as well. Was not forced into that with contact or lap traffic or anything. Just, I guess, he's been running this track hard all race long, pushing the limits, and I guess maybe he found it, Christian.
Yeah, you see here, he's just setting up behind Topi, gets in a little bit hot left rear onto the grass, and does a good job of saving it, but just gets unlucky. It does that horrible half spin, goes to a full spin, has to go all the way around, and a net loss of about 7 seconds for him.
So Sebastian Tixier inherits 3rd place because of that. Hisada's back in 4th, and Ryan Walker is in 5th. Hawken also up into 2nd position because of that. But Brandon Hawken has not been able to catch up to Topi Cortiniemi since the start of this race. It's gone from 3 seconds to up to 4.7 now. And without anybody to fight with the number 2 like we were expecting with Togo, unfortunately, Topi is free to run his own race.
Yeah, no, I really don't want to curse Topi because he's already had more bad luck than I think I've seen most people have in a while in this series. But I think unless something happens to him, this kind of should be, wind it down and roll home because Hawkin doesn't have the pace for him today.
So I suspect that really the only thing that could take him out is either his own mistakes or lap traffic here today. This is Brandon Hawkin. They were seen. There's about 4.6 seconds back, and let's see. Got a replay for something here. This is Brandon with a big moment. Nice catch. Nice catch. Certainly driving this car sideways as you can do without the wings holding it down on the track. In the meantime, Xavier Sanchez and Ryan Walker have been absolutely locked into a stalemate of a battle.
Yeah, and I haven't really seen Sanchez pull any moves just yet, but he is able to hang on.
Up and over the crest of Piratella once again. He needs, I think, a mistake coming out of Ryan here because he's had pretty good exits. We've seen multiple times that it seems like he's been close enough he could try something into Tamburello, but it's just not enough, even on his best corner exit. As in the background there, that was Zach Purcell, who's already had problems. Oh no, Robert Plumley's consistency is escaping through his fingers. He's off the course of what looks like out of Aqua Minerale. Let's see. This is coming out of Piratella. I suspect he went a little bit wide on the exit.
Yeah, he's looking a little bit out of control there as he comes into the entry of Aqua Minerale. It looks okay so far, though. This is quite a... Oh! Just gets pulled around by the curb there on the left front.
I've never seen that, especially with this car over there. That's interesting. Maybe just on the power, it spun up the tires when it came off the curb?
Yeah, I've seen this kind of catch out other cars, but I really thought the 49 would be fairly immune to it. But you see it there as it sort of unloaded it and reloaded the left front. Then the car just went around on him.
Fascinating. Oh, that's a very unusual spin. I wondered how he got to the outside there at that part of the track. Not a place you typically see them. Oh, back to Sanchez. If we could go to the 3 and the 6. This time, instead of looking into Tamburello, he tried it into Tosa. He's trying to get creative now.
Yeah, and whilst this was happening, Hisada has actually passed Tixier.
Oh. So, he's on a recovery. But I don't know. Let's see what the lap times are like between... I wonder if we could pull up a comparison between Hisada and Portinemi since after his incident to see if he is any quicker than Topi.
He's catching a lot, and Topi's actually just lost about a second or more to Hawkin. I don't know whether he was just being cautious around a lapped car there or if he had a slight mistake.
Yeah, that is... in fact, Topa's only 3 seconds behind. Considering that I would have thought he'd lost much, much more under that spin. I'm kind of shocked at the ground that he is making up.
He was back to 7 seconds and he was closing it down, but I'm hearing that Topi just had quite the scare with the lapped car, and that's why the gap's come down significantly.
Yeah, I'm checking. Okay, yeah, he was side by side coming through Alta with Koichi Nakajima, who is another of our Japanese drivers out there. I wonder if there's any loyalties that he knew he was trying to be caught and decided, I'm not going to make this too easy.
I really don't think that would have happened.
I doubt so.
It has closed the gap significantly. Oh!
Holy cow! Marco Salgado sending Will Lamb into an incredible accident coming down into Tamburello. That's about the 3rd time we've seen a car have a massive wreck this race into that corner. A little bit of netcode, unfortunately, but I think they were still going to make contact at some point in there.
Yeah, you can see he was drifting wide, and I think it's actually going to put Salgado out of the race as well.
Yeah, pulls off to the side. I wonder if he got a meatball flag for that one. I'm not seeing it, but he still could have got some sort of damage to affect his handling on the car. And wow, Will Lamb is definitely out of this one. Certainly can't continue, at least from where the accident came to a halt, to say the least. Meanwhile, coming back to Togo Hisada, he is already on top of Brandon Hawken. About 0.7 of a second between himself and the number one. Brandon seeming to lack pace today. He won back-to-back victories at Mid-Ohio and Barber and seemed to be the fastest man on track at both of those races. Since then, can't seem to quite repeat that. Everybody has stepped up their game. So our driver has joined us from the MX-5s, has settled in well, but found it maybe more difficult than he anticipated to dominate.
Well, we say lacking pace, but he is still running in second, so yes. he's not running too slowly. But yeah, I think the two fastest drivers of the day are fairly clearly Topi Coordinimi and Togo Hisada, and I think that this is not over here, depending on how fast Togo can clear Brandon Hawken, because if he can get it done in the next 1 or 2 laps, I think he might be able to run that gap to Topi down.
And there's about 3 lapped cars coming up in succession pretty soon for Topi Coordinimi. That might make life a little bit difficult depending on where and how he catches them and tries to pass them. We're past the halfway point, so things are going to start trickling down, and Togo is going to have to try and make that pass soon if he does have the pace to catch up to Topi. And he has at least reeled in Hawken. It's down to 0.2 of a second. It was 0.7 at the start of this lap. And looking left and right into Ravazza. Unfortunately, it's not going to get him anything here. However, let's see what the exit of Ravazza holds.
Yeah, it looked like in Ravazza 1 in the rear end nearly went around on Togo again.
Tries to get off of it as strong as he can. He's going to get a tiny bit of the slipstream as the track weaves back and forth down the front stretch. Going to disappear behind the trees here from up in the chopper cam and down into the braking. They reemerge. Not close enough this time for Togo Hisada. But after having to cut down on that gap, he has done that first half. The second half is going to be trying to make that pass. How does he try and do that at this narrow and twisty circuit?
I think the easiest is obviously the run into Tamburello, but Hawken we know is actually fairly strong through the last section of Ravazza. We saw that's how he pulled the pass on Tixier. Wasn't able to get it done in Tamburello. As we see behind, Walker's having to go defensive into Tosa.
So he's not feeling safe on this one, that is for sure. Behind them, don't forget about Sebastian Tixier, just kind of hounding them. Followed Togo Hisada up towards Brandon Hawken and wants to try and see if he can capitalize on any sort of skirmish that he sees in front of him. Meanwhile, behind them, we can see a fight between the 6 and the 3 carrying on pretty much since the start of this race. And Sanchez looking a little closer than he was before, but Walker slightly defensive at the start of the straightaway, then fades back to the racing line for now. He is making the Scotsman sweat just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Walker might be going a bit too defensive here as we once again look at Togo. He's got a better run on Hawken. I still don't think it's good enough, though.
Yeah, I don't think he has the corner exit. Something about that number one just looks mighty coming off the corners, especially those slow corners, and that is helping him keep the Japanese driver at bay. So, down into the braking once again. They're going to stay in order. Ooh, I think Sanchez might have a go this time. Sanchez is going to be side by side, and this might be the move that we've been waiting for, but he's not as good on the brakes once again. That is his Achilles heel in this fight.
Yeah, but he's going to have that run that we saw Hawken do earlier. He's going to have the opportunity into Villeneuve here. He's got a better exit out of Tamburello. He's going to the inside.
And this time he is braver on the brakes, side by side, coming up through Villeneuve, tries to cut back once again, but he'll have to do the outside, this time into Tosa. He could cut back the underneath move, and it looks like no, he just doesn't have it, but that's the closest we've seen.
Yeah, it was a nice defense there by Ryan as well, but he's still under threat here. No pass going on here, and definitely not going to see one down into Aqua Minerale either. But Walker did a really good job there, always gave him the outside and actually going on up ahead. Hisada's being passed by Tixier? Not quite, but it's going to pull him off the back of Hawken.
Yeah, I think either some sort of slowdown penalty or just a mistake out of Aqua Minerale caused Togo to have to check up. Tixier tried to take advantage of it, but he wasn't quite there. And, of course, the lap traffic distracting both of them caused a complication neither wanted in that situation. But this has given Hawken a couple laps of a free pass. He's now back up to about a second ahead of the pair of them.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on Tixier because he kind of started off the race. It wasn't slow, but he didn't look like he had the pace for the win. And as the race has gone on, he's just gradually got more and more competitive. I actually think he might have some pace on Hawken. It looks like he runs deep a little bit there into Tamburello.
I think Hawken's trying to push to try and get away as much as he can, and it bit him there. We're still side by side with Sanchez, though. He's given it another go. Did he learn lessons from last time? This time he cuts back a lot earlier. Will that help him out as he goes for the back and forth once again? But this time, Walker is the one who has gotten wise from that one. He covers off, clear around the outside, though. Holy cow! Sanchez learned his own little trick, and that's the one that gets him the spot.
Yeah, that was a great move, but I was so surprised that Ryan gave him the other side this time. The defense he did on the prior lap was so good. It always put Sanchez on the outside, and here... yes, he gives him the outside into Villeneuve, but he always knows that it's going to go back to being the inside afterwards. I was just so surprised that he did this, but a great move. It completely outbraked Walker, even though Walker had the ideal line.
Some of the greatest passes to me are the ones where the drivers get clever.
He's had his spun at Alta. He's actually hit the barriers this time.
Oh, well, that wasn't clever. And Togo Sada twice now has caused his own headache. Here is what happened with Togo. No, actually, excuse me, we're coming back to that move now. So this is a little back. This is going to happen into Alta here for the number 4 car. And once again, just like before, it was his own errors, his own doing.
Yeah, and, you know, a little bit of a surprise to see 2 mistakes in the same race from Togo.
Now, I'm curious, though, because we've had such hot conditions, it has cooled down slightly. Do you think he was too aggressive on his rubber?
I don't think he was too aggressive on the tires. I just think he was a little bit too aggressive overall, if I'm honest. Yeah, you see that, just the brakes a little bit too late, and then just goes around. I think he's going to be okay from that, but still, you never want to touch the wall.
Certainly. So Sanchez is now up to 5th, and it's Hisada who's in front of him, but he's been fighting with Ryan for so long that Hisada is still a good 6.5 seconds up the road, but that puts paid to both of those battles, at least for now, although Sanchez still has Walker close behind him, so that could still erupt. But man, that move deserves to be studied that Xavier made, as that certainly proved to be one of the smartest that we've seen in some time. In the meantime, you talked about the pace of Sebastian Tixier in that number 8, 0.6 of a second to try and make up on Hawken. Does he have enough in these 4 laps to try and get up to at least second place again?
I think he might have a shot at it. And speaking of other racing that's going on, Sanchez hasn't driven away from Walker, so there could be a repass on the go.
Yeah, I'm sure Walker would like to try and get that one back as he tries to take a little bit of a wide run himself. Looking at this coming off, did Walker take notes on that one? No, he looks a little slow comparatively, but already weaving to try and break the slipstream. Sanchez is trying to get himself out of reach. Maybe he knows that he's not as good on the brakes coming up to Tamburello here. It seems like he's had trouble in the past trying to get beside him, but this time they do not have any such battle into that corner. They're going to stay put as they were.
Yeah, it looked like Walker had actually closed up there, but then just the final corner coming onto the straightaway just didn't get any exit drive, and that's why he dropped back and didn't have the opportunity.
It's going to be a pretty good run here from Xavier today, although he's back to where he started this race. Hawken, among the top 5, is the only one to have gained positions. He's up 2 from where he started to get into second today. And certainly had the bit between his teeth on that one. So we continue to watch this battle. They're coming down through Piratella now, and Ryan Walker very much hounding Sanchez. These two have been glued to one another. I'm expecting there'll be some pats on the back after this one, because this has been a close but very respectful fight between them.
Yeah, no, I would say that's been true throughout the field, really. We have seen some car contacts, but for the most part, we've just seen really good racing. And speaking of two drivers who have really been on the move, we knew they were starting out of position, but their climb has still been really, really impressive. Ben Zoko, 31st to 16th, but he's outdone slightly by Jorge Neva, who's 33rd to 14th.
19 positions gained by Jorge Nieva. I wonder at what point this guy is going to start getting a higher number on his car. Right now he's ranked as number 21 according to iRating. And I get the sense that he is going to see that climb. Oh, no, poor Robert Plumley. He's having the worst race of his season thus far. Lowest he's finished is 11th. He's actually been very consistent on that, just inside the top 10 most races. But he's 15th, and he just had another spin coming through Alta. Unfortunately, you can see the lapped cars are trying desperately to stay out of the way, especially this late in the race with so many close battles at the top of the field.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think Hawken is definitely still under threat from Tixia. Tixia's got to give this a go, surely.
So, as they come up into the braking now of Piratella, it's a blind entry into that corner, and the braking is very early in these cars, but they've mastered it by now, coming through that little kinked braking zone. You know, driver, I'm kind of sad that we haven't got to see today, that I would have loved to see try to tackle this track, as Ove Trangrade is not here. So, Ove, wherever you are, we miss you, bud. And this certainly would have offered him plenty of chances to slide today, as the 8 was very close to the 1, but the lap traffic kind of scuppered any chances he may have had there.
Yeah, lost in the opportunity there out of Rivazza, but he's still got 2 laps to get this done.
I just went by Roberto Pangrazi there in the 38, and they're leaving him behind, but the gap opens up slightly. Got to give credit to Brandon Hawken, been dealing with this quite well out there today. He's had pressure. He's had to be on the aggression at some point to make attacks, but he's got himself a handy second place if he can just keep the number 1 behind him. Also, don't have Mick Claridge here either today. We'll hopefully be talking about him soon, as in a little less than a week's time we'll have another episode of Where is Mick coming up. And I think Koichi Nakajima just had to tow and take it to pit lane. I'm not sure what caused that, but we go back to Matthew Maudsley now, who is in 9th place in this race, up 2 positions, and chasing another out-of-place driver, Laust Olsen, who is up to 8th place, up 7 positions. Been kind of a quiet runner to be gaining as much as he has.
Yeah, absolutely, and kind of last season, it was always that I'd sort of look out for Laust to be inside the top 10, because even if he started outside of it, he'd somehow end up in the top 10 by the end of the race, and he's done it once again, but does look like he's under threat from Maudsley, and Maudsley's having a really good race. Obviously, it doesn't look as impressive on paper because he's gone 11th to 9th, but still, the pace here by Maudsley is probably one of the strongest races we've seen him have.
Definitely. I think this one deserves some kudos. Meanwhile, Topi Kortiemi just took the white flag at a handy 6.1 seconds over Brandon Hawken. This hasn't been a stomping out there over Hawken, but this has been a stamp of authority by the Finn.
Yeah, absolutely. And, his pace was never in doubt. It's just he didn't have the results for the first 3 races of the season to back it up, unfortunately. No,
and Topi's kind of making up for lost time. As I mentioned, if he keeps getting these wins and Hawken keeps finishing 2nd and 3rd, then that's going to allow him to catch him, no doubt. The points difference and the number of races left should mean that Brandon will have to try and strike back and finish ahead of him. He can't just continue to bleed positions as things go on. And you can see coming into Alta, there is nobody around. There's not even lap traffic for Topi Kortaniemi. He managed to win back in California as he comes over to Imola. This classic track has meant that that number 2 car looks like he's going to grab a second number 1 here today. Just has to make it out of the Ravazza corners. A little bit of time being given up to Brandon Hawken, probably just cruising this one home as Topi Kortaniemi put it on pole and takes the victory here today in Italy.
Yeah, pretty dominating performance there. Never really looked under threat, except for when Togo was running with him near the beginning of the race.
And Hawken holds back Tixier for second. Looks like Sebastian onto the podium. Poor Togo Hisada. He's going to finish way off the podium, not on terms of position, but of pace, as he is about 11 seconds behind when the checkered flag falls. And Sanchez keeps Walker behind him by a 1/10 of a second between them at the line. Man, Sanchez earned that one.
Yeah, Bill Tyler coming across in 7th. A quiet race for him, 7th to 7th. And last, 15th to 8th.
Oh, man. Jorge Nieva was close to getting into 12th position. He had caught up to the back of Marco Salgado and Seamus Power, but he ran out of laps. And he'll have to settle for 14th. There's Frasky rounding out your top 10. And then behind him, Jorge Nieva crosses the line ahead of what is probably a frustrated Robert Plumley. Ben Zocco nearly got him. He's going to finish behind him by a 1/10 of a second as well. And only 21 cars are going to finish on the lead lap on this one. We're going to come back with the official results as well as driver interviews pretty soon. Stick around for more to come here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Imola. We just watched round 5 in the Grand Prix Legend Series. Topi Kortaniemi took the victory here today over Brandon Hawken, who started from 4th, and we wondered whether or not maybe if that hadn't have happened, if he could have caught Topi. The answer seemed to be mostly a no, as he continued to lose time throughout the race, even once he got into 2nd. Sebastian Tixier, though, followed him home and definitely kept pressure on Brandon all race long, but never seemed to really make serious attempts to try and take away that P2. Togo Hisada was the one that looked faster than Topi for much of the day. He wound up 4th after 2 spins of his own making in this race. He was ahead of Xavier Sanchez. What a battle that number 3 had. He took 5th place over Ryan Walker, who he was fighting with the entire race, essentially. Walker took 6th. Bill Tyler was 7th, and Laus Dolson, who we mentioned during the race, gained a lot of positions here today to get an 8th place, up 7 for him. Matthew Maudsley was 9th, and Miro Hraski rounds out your top 10.
And Pecaristo comes home 11th, which is extremely surprising after that first lap incident where he was all 4 wheels off the ground for a moment. And Seamus Power up 5 spots. He comes home in 12th as well. With Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado unfortunately going 1 spot the opposite way, coming home 13th after starting 12th. Jorge Neva, biggest mover of the day by far, 33rd to 14th. An amazing run by him from the back of the field. Robert Plumley, a bit of a day to forget, but does come home still in 15th after starting 10th. Ben Zoko, another huge climb through the field, 31st to 16th. Martin Versvalen, fortunately one of the drivers to go a little bit the opposite way with a couple of incidents, but a good recovery to finish in 17th, with Alfonso Fernandez in 18th, 4 spots down as well. David Rossi, the F2 points leader going into the race, fortunately down 6 spots, coming home in 19th, with Gary Ho, 20th to 20th.
Connor Babel was the last one on the lead lap in 21st. Joan Rodriguez, 22nd. Then it's Roberto Pangrazi in 23rd. You've got Matthew Johns, 24th, and Will Lamb in 25th. These are all drivers that are still a lap down. Andrew Ang, P26, Farron Grau, unfortunately going backwards today, winding up 27th. And then Christian Arribas, I believe the last one potentially to see the checkered flag. Everybody else multiple laps down, such as Koichi Nakajima, 29th, Diego Tavira, 30th from there on down. Many, many laps lost by these drivers who ran into trouble on to 40th here today. We do have our winner ready to talk to us, Topi Kortaniemi, and though he had a pretty decent gap at the end, he did have pressure through much of the race. Togo seemed to really keep you honest in the first part of this one.
Sorry, can you say again? I missed your question.
I said it seemed like Togo really kept you honest on this race.
Oh yeah, definitely. He was. I don't know if he just had a bad quali, but he was fast, all right, and I really had to think about the defense a lot of time. But I don't know what happened. Did he miss a shift, or what happened at Acqua Minerale?
Put his wheels off, unfortunately. Just went a little bit wide, and then he had a second spin as well. So between the two of you, you definitely were the more consistent today.
Yeah, I kind of like played it safe, knowing that the guy behind has the pressure to pass on a circuit like this.
Well, that's 2 races in a row now that you've managed to get victories. You're clawing in on Brandon Hawken and making that gap closer. Are you going to be a 49 and a 79 champion this season? Are you going for the double?
Yeah, if the stars align correctly, yes.
Well, best of luck to you on that. That's going to take a lot of effort, but you're certainly on your way, sir.
Thanks, Joe.
That was Topi Kortaniemi, our winner here today. Up next, it looks like Christian has caught up with Brandon Hawken in 2nd.
Brandon, you come home 2nd again, but looked like a little bit of a muted performance today. You know, we're used to seeing you fight for the win, but I hate to say it, it seemed like both Topi and Togo just had a little bit of pace on you.
Oh yeah, they definitely did. I thought I'd try something a little bit different this time. I did a lot of playing around with the setup, and I thought I found what felt good, but man, I was just all over the place the entire race. So yeah, I'll definitely have to continue working on it. But man, that was great race anyway, though, with Topi and Sebastian there for second. Yeah, really great battle, and yeah, Topi was just gone after a little mistake from Togo there. So man, so yeah, we'll have a little bit of work to do to see if we can keep up with him later on. But man, great race nonetheless. Yeah, really great stuff from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about, obviously the beginning of the season, very, very strong, picked up race wins, and now Topi's kind of picking up a couple of race wins recently, but had that really unlucky start to the season, I would say. Do you kind of have any thoughts of the championship? Are you actually looking at the points often, or are you just kind of coming out here to go for the race wins?
Kind of a bit of both. Yeah, of course, you want to win as much as you can, but yeah, I'm definitely going for the championship as well. Yeah, it should be really close with him and yeah, a few others. So, man, yeah, got a bit of work to do, but yeah, just didn't quite have the pace this time. I knew it. Barber, I got kind of lucky there at the start with a couple cars crashing at the beginning, so yeah, wasn't quite sure what to do, but I knew at Barber I was really struggling on corner entry, so I tried to work on that a bit, and yeah, I think I just made it ended up making it loose everywhere, but yeah, so yeah, I think I learned a lot from this one, and I'm not sure what track we're at next, but yeah, I'll definitely work hard on that, see if I can balance the car out a little bit better. I know yeah, at the beginning beginning of the season I was yeah, pretty tight on entry, and then I just couldn't quite get the run off, so yeah, I tried adjusting on that a little bit. Maybe went a little bit too far, but yeah, we'll see if I can get it balanced out for next time, and hopefully we can get Topi a run for his money there next time.
Well, next week is actually Fuji, so a track that nobody has yet raced in the 49, and obviously back to a very, very fast track with a very long front straightaway, so I expect we'll see a lot of passes there into turn 1. Have you driven the track much since it's been released? Do you got any thoughts on how it might race in the 49? Do you think it'll be a strong track for you?
I think it'll be all right. I drove it a little bit. Put a few laps in there with the LMP2 there not too long ago. But yeah, I have a lot of experience with it on other games, and yeah, it should be like quite a draft heavy track, I imagine. There's a lot of like wide sweeping corners, and especially that long straightaway is one of the longest. So yeah, it's gonna be really draft heavy, and should put on a really great show for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm expecting the same. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just like to shout out SRC Movano Corsa, you guys in the broadcast booth for doing this every week. Everybody, like all my fellow competitors, it's going to be a really tight championship fight, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and yeah, we'll see you at Fuji. Hopefully, yeah, it should be a really good time, and hopefully we can show up and run for the win there.
Absolutely, we'll definitely be looking out for you at the front of the field. So once again, congratulations on the second place finish, and thank you for coming and chatting with us.
Thanks, guys.
That was Brandon Hawkins, second place today, and now we're going to be talking to sixth place finisher Ryan Walker. Ryan, you and Xavier had just one of the most incredible battles we've seen in some time. What was it like from your view?
Oh, that was that was absolutely fantastic stuff, and yeah, I had a feeling it was just a matter of time before Xavier got by, because he was just slightly a bit quicker than me pace-wise, but I enjoyed that battle, and that move into Villeneuve on the outside, that was just, I was gobsmacked.
We were too. That one took me by surprise that he actually managed to execute on that, but we kind of knew coming in that this was going to be a race where it was hard to pass. So were you mostly kind of focusing on your own race, or were you doing anything different there to try and hold him behind?
I wasn't really doing anything different. I was just telling myself, if he gets a run and he gets all inside, don't make a big deal of it or make too much of an issue, because we had a decent gap to Bill Tyler, I think it was, behind us, about 4 or 5 seconds, and I thought if Xavier gets by me, I'll just settle in behind him and just try and pull away from Bill again. I've just done that, and I managed to close Xavier down in the closing stages in the final couple of laps, but just couldn't find a way by. And but it's probably the best battle I've had in the Lotus 49, and yeah, I was happy with my pace overall.
Don't blame you, because that was an impressive run, especially with how stacked the field was here today. How much are you going to be around for the season? I see you missed Barber, but otherwise you've been showing up for the most of the races so far.
I should be around for the rest of the season. It's the only time I'll probably miss a race if I have to for the rest of the season, is probably endurance racing commitments. But apart from that, I should be around for the rest of the season as it stands. So looking forward to it.
We look forward to it as well. Ryan, congratulations on a top 10 here today. That one gave us a lot of entertainment.
Thanks, Joe.
It's Ryan Walker, 6th place today, which wraps up our interviews. And of course, we want to give a big thank you to the community, the Lotus 49 community, for bringing us back for another season of coverage, or else we wouldn't get to see some amazing running like we see here. Also, thank you to the team today, Rob, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, as was mentioned, is going to be Fuji. That'll be Saturday, July 23rd at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. The first time 49s will have raced at this track. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, because up later today, the Camel GT Series goes to Sebring at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.